Thank you, Mr. Chairman. There's a lot going on in the Middle East and a lot of issues on the table for us today. I'm, like all of us here, applaud the administration for seeking to build on the Abraham Accords. We're, I think, very grateful to you for the effort that the administration has made to achieve a ceasefire in Yemen and to ease what has been one of the world's worst humanitarian crises there. But I think there's probably a consensus on both sides of the aisle that right now the biggest issue in the world, that the central strategic challenge is the war in Ukraine and what Russia is doing there. After all, it's the entire world system that we built after World War II that hangs in the balance. We've got a great plan for beating Putin through helping Ukraine and sanctioning Russia. I'm afraid that Putin also has a pretty good plan for beating us. And that plan is inflation and starvation, to change our policy and potentially even to change us through the pressure, the political pressure that the United States and every Western democracy is under right now. And so it's very important to know whether countries that seek partnership with the United States are doing the right thing. And I think this is one of those moments, like after 9/11, when we are in a position to be demanders, not supplicants, when it comes to this central challenge. So I want to ask you particularly about Saudi Arabia and the United Arab Emirates. From my standpoint, I think ideologically, rulers like MBS are probably more aligned with Putin than they are with us. I think it is fair to say that they have been at least very slow in doing the one thing that they needed to do, which was to increase oil production to compensate for the loss of Russian oil from global markets, with the result that Russia is now making more money from oil exports because the slowness on the part of our partners has driven the price of oil so high that Russia's making more money. And of course, we are experiencing, all of our constituents, massive pain as a result of this. So I would have chosen a different approach from the president's. I would have taken a tougher line rather than planning this trip and asking for favors. I hope I'm wrong. I hope you guys succeed for all of our sakes. And let me ask about a couple of specific issues with respect to that. So the UAE, as you know, has long been kind of a notorious money laundering center. And there's been tons of public reporting suggesting that in the first few months of the war in Ukraine, lots of Russian oligarchs, businessmen, people connected to Putin have set up shop in Dubai for a reason, presumably. I mean, why do you think they believe that this is a safe place in the face of U.S. sanctions to shelter their assets?
Congressman, can I come back to something you said earlier? And
of course.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I would respectfully just say that the president isn't going asking for favors of anyone on this visit, on this historic visit. He's going to engage with key partners around the Middle East, gathered a whole group of them, 9 of them gathered in one place, and then, of course, with Israel and Palestinian leadership. He's not asking for favors, but you can be sure that Russia, Russia's war on Ukraine and the devastation that it has wreaked and will continue to wreak unless we can drive that to a conclusion, that will feature as a major part of his discussion with all of his partners.
Could I have very little time left if I could ask you to
Yes.
address the money
As far as the
laundering
UAE,
issue? Yeah.
I'm not happy. I'm not happy at all with the record at this point, and I plan to make this a priority to drive to a better alignment, shall we say, of effort.
Okay. With respect to the Khashoggi case, which Mr. Burchett mentioned, look, I don't expect you to get accountability from the Saudis because that means MBS punishing himself, to be brutally frank. But I wonder if there isn't more that we can do. And in particular, a number of us have, a bipartisan basis, have approached the administration to ask whether we can get greater transparency on the visa bans that the State Department imposed. The Secretary, I think at one point, did say that you would be exploring using the Section 7031C visa ban authority, which explicitly is designed to enable you to publicly name those who have been denied a visa on human rights and corruption grounds. Is that a review that's underway? Is that something we might expect
I'll be happy
see
to take
happen?
that back.
Thank you. I yield back.